So we're here today at the KLS Martin facility, and I'm so excited to welcome Charisse Pulfer to the MedTech Mentor podcast. Charisse and I have known each other for over a decade now.
Oh, yeah.
A really long time. We first met when she was a theater technician in the hospital, and I helped support her get her first role in MedTech. And here we are now, like 13 years later.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. And we're on site at the new KLS Martin facility, and we want to talk all about loan kits. We're going to go through Charisse's journey, and we want to take what is sometimes and most often invisible and make it visible. Loan kit coordinators are often the unsung heroes of the medtech world. And you can see here, we've got some kit in front of us, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But really what we're here to do today is just shine a light on this role and help educate and share some knowledge to our listeners about what this role is, how important it is, and the impact that it makes within the ecosystem for patients and for those that work in it. All right, awesome, thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, I'm so excited. So we like to start out with a little bit of your origin story. You know, we got to go back to the beginning a little bit.
Well,
So give us a quick rundown of how you got into this crazy game.
so I've been in healthcare basically all my life, so over 18 years. When I was living in Melbourne, that's where my career started. Well, started off as a chef, and I went, chefing is not really doing it for me. The long hours and the money wasn't too crash hot as well. And I thought, what else can I do? And my family has a history, physiotherapists, so medical background overall. My parents said, oh, you should get into healthcare. And I thought, okay, why not? And then I started off as a patient services assistant at the Alfred Hospital and Royal Melbourne, and just positioning patients in ICU, so just being an assistant. I went, wow, I really like this, like the patient impact that you're actually caring for someone and that feeling that you do have, just helping someone, you know, who can't help themselves. And I enjoyed that, and then I went, I need to do something different. I need to move on up, because there's so many areas in the hospital system that you can work in theatres, or you can be an assistant in, you know, cardiology, or, you know, there's lots of avenues in a hospital. And then I saw this ad for Mayfield Education in Melbourne, where they actually teach you to be a CSSD technician or be a theatre technician. And a theatre technician is very, very big in Melbourne. It doesn't exist in other states. The nurses do a lot of it here. And I did the course. I was working at a private hospital closely with Melbourne Orthopaedic Group, and I learned how to position patients in theatres, set up a whole theatre room of, you know, the consoles, and how to change gases on the anaesthetic machine, and how to do cricode pressure when you do a GA with the anaesthetist. So you start to watch and learn everything that you need for whatever type of surgery.
Getting everything set up for the moment.
Yeah, for the moment. And I thought, oh, this is all elective surgery, which is what you'll get a lot of in private hospitals. So I joined an agency in Melbourne. To widen my experience, I was working in public hospitals where I was hit with trauma. And that's where you have to think on your feet. Like, you know, we've got an aneurysm coming in. What do you need? 2 suction units, you need 2 diathermies, you need basically think on your feet, patients coming through, got to get bloods straight away. So you always have to think ahead. And I thought, wow, I really enjoy this. You know, I'm picking up all the experience. And working in theatres, you're exposed to medical companies. And I was actually booking in like specialised theatre equipment for people's surgeries. And that's how I got face to face with the reps. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, you know, just coming into a surgery and they'll just wheel their trolley in with all their implants and they have all their instruments. I went, oh, this is really interesting, like, medical companies, okay. Because I thought, being fresh in healthcare, that the hospitals had all this equipment. And you just don't realise how many medical companies there are supplying for the hospitals and for the patients. And then one of the reps said to me, oh, you should join a medical company. And I thought, oh, yeah, what can I do there? Get into loan kits. And so I got into loan kits at Biomet, which is where you put me through my first MedTech job ever. And I was dealing with orthopedics there and just tightening up all the processes and bringing my hospital experience to Biomet as well, and just going, yeah, that's not going to work. We should do this because that will help CSSD. And we moved to Belrose and we joined Zimmer. So it was Zimmer Biomet and kept on doing loan kits there and learning SAP. So SAP is a very massive system that we do use in medical devices.
And what's the function of that doing? Is that it's tracking your inventory? And
so the reps will put a booking in. They'll tell us exactly what they need for that type of surgery, and then we go through and we basically just ship whatever they tell us, like this equipment here. So for example, for KLS Martin, for a head and neck recon, they'll ask on the booking, so it will tell you the hospital, patient details, any notes if we have to ship to different departments, and what's needed for surgery as well. Then we actually grab the kit and then we have to check every single piece of equipment. Here at KLS we take photos before we send it out because of the amount of screws, as you can see here. One could be missing. If it pops out, the lid comes off. So we just have to make sure that we just run our eyes through that before we send it.
Walk us through that transition between being in the theater and then being handed something like this, because presumably when you were in the theater, it's all been checked. You would unbox it, you would set it up, and you would let it go, right? Whereas now you're responsible for going through all of this, and what is the process, and then what are the implications if one of these small pieces are not there?
So I'll run through the cycle of the loan kit. So the rep puts the booking in, we double check, take photos, make sure everything that we need is sent to the hospital, gets processed by CSSD, they check it, and then it goes to theatres, comes back and gets sterilised and washed, and then they check it to say what they're returning back. Then it comes to us, and then every single instrument we pull out and we check to make sure it's functioning properly, make sure the screws don't fall out, and it's lubricated as well. We also pick up the screws. So each and every screw here has a different length. So we actually check it like this to make sure that it's the correct size. So we go through all the screws to make sure that A has CSSD.
And there's like 200 screws just in this one tray.
Yep.
So this is one kit.
That's one kit.
Yeah. And there's 6 layers to the one kit.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So we check all the lengths. We go through all the plates here to make sure what matches on a checklist to say that should be in this kit is in here. The main thing about sending out a kit is we have to make sure nothing's missing here. Because if something's missing and it gets to the hospital, it could be a very, very main component of what has to be used in surgery for that patient.
Yeah.
And the patient may not have surgery because of that. So that's why it's really, really important to, attention to detail, that everything that you're sending to the hospital is 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then, of course, you've got to be doing all this, but you have to be doing it efficiently because you'd be going through how many kits in a shift?
So we come in the morning and we see how many bookings we need to send out, get it ready, send it. But then you could be slammed with 4 late bookings. We also do hand and wrist, so that's trauma. There could be a car accident and we have to quickly send a mid-face or a mandible set because the patient's waiting in emergency ready to go into theatres and they're just waiting for this kit to arrive at the hospital for that patient. So in terms of timings, like you have to be on the ball. Like once you get that phone call saying that you need to send something straight away, so we call it a POT, patient on table, which is a high level of urgency. We basically have to stop what we're doing and then get on to that and just send everything that we need to send.
Wow, it's a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And since working in theatres, you know, I've seen the backbone of what happens when, you know, implants are missing and the patient's actually asleep under a GA and they've had to wake the patient up because there was items missing from. And it's devastating because just think, you know, what if that was me, you know, having surgery and you get woken up saying you can't have surgery because what we need is not here.
Yeah, and it's out of all of the things that you would have thought that could have disrupted a significant moment in your life, in the patient's life, this is one of those things you just don't expect. You know, as we said at the beginning of this podcast, it's invisible. It just happens. It's just there. It just works until it doesn't.
So Loan Kits coordinators is a really, really important role. We do on-call as well as the reps. We support like CSSD managers and, you know, theatre managers, and we're consistently talking to one another. In terms of product, you know, we purchase product every single week from Germany. Our PMIs are made in Germany and we usually send the instruments out with that PMI. So
for our listeners, can you explain what's PMI?
So PMI is a patient match implant. So it could be a splint or a model or a certain part of the implant required for that surgery if it's a reconstruction, and it's usually sent out with instruments. So what usually happens, PMI gets sent out with the instruments. If that PMI is not here, then the surgery can't really go ahead. So we consistently have to deal with the logistics side of, you know, getting in contact with Germany, DHL, there could be delays. So we're consistently watching every single step of, you know, from as soon as it ships from Germany, lands in Sydney, get it out to the hospital with the instruments. If the PMI is delayed, we send the instruments first because the PMI might be going through customs. So it's consistently watching, everything.
Your loan kits are really orchestrating all of the background setup to the moment of implantation, when the rep comes in, is supporting through that procedure. And it's amazing how many people don't realize what loan kit coordinators do, which is exactly why we're here, for a role that is so critical that often sometimes goes unrecognized. But it's really that last line of defense, that last line of preparation prior to implementation, which is, you know, when we think of how many millions of dollars go into creating these products, marketing these products, getting them to the right patient. And in what is often an entry-level position where you start, this is so critical. And that's why we're so passionate about this role of loan kit coordinators and wanted to spend this time today. So on an accuracy perspective, there's no error rate, right? There's no error is acceptable.
No.
And is it all human inspected, like it's manually inspected by a human? Is there any sort of technology that scans this afterwards? I mean, I know it goes through sterilization, but it's all done by a human. So
with bigger companies, I know a lot of the instruments will have like a little 3D barcode, and that's RFID, and they just put it through the tunnel and it tells them exactly what's missing out of that tray. For these type of kits, we have to, I'll pick it up again, manually check the reference of this instrument and then check it off. So each and every single one of them, we have to check that the references, the product codes, that is, matches the screw type. We have to check how many plates and these drills here, the product codes on there as well. So we're consistently looking, oh yeah, that's the correct one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the correct one. If you have the wrong, that's a screwdriver blade which picks up the screws. We've got about 3 types of these blades with the markings there. If it's the wrong product code, looks the same, it's not going to pick the screw up. So the surgeon won't be able to pick the screw up to insert. So that's why, you have to be 100% in everything that you do.
Absolutely. And, the surgeons, they rely on this just being there, being ready to go.
Yeah.
So what has been your most hectic moment as a loan kit coordinator? I'd be interested to know if there was one particular that really pushed you, because I know you're exceptional at this. I was just telling Charisse about how when I started working at a MedTech company representing their talent, that they'd said, I want Charisse, like her reputation precedes her. And so I know you're excellent at this, but I can imagine that even as good as you are, there's been some hairy moments. So if we're talking to our audience about how great loan kit coordination is, how meaningful it is and purposeful it is, we also want to let them know the reality of it. So do you have a story for us?
Yeah, sure. So in general, it's about time management, and you're going to be put under pressure, and I thrive off pressure. I've worked in theatres. I love traumas. I love getting in there, thinking on your feet, going, I need this, this, and this, and this. You could be slammed with 3 urgent bookings, right? But then you don't think that you're going to do that by yourself. Like, you've got other team members within operations to help you. So always ask for help so you can get the stuff out the door, because that's a priority, right? Getting stuff out the door so it gets to the hospital on time. There's been times where, because you only have a certain amount of kits available, so you have to think, oh, I don't have this set that they're asking for. Where can I get this from? Consignment site. So a hospital that could already have a kit nearby, contact the hospital, or you speak to the rep and say, what does the surgeon actually need? We can't get consignment nearby. We don't have a kit here in the warehouse. What type of screws does he need? What plates does he need? We'll make a mini kit.
Like almost custom for that.
Custom just for that patient. There's always a solution, and that's what it is all about: time management, attention to detail, coming up with solutions, teamwork, especially building those relationships with your reps, because you don't know when you do need them, especially when you want that kit returned back. In terms of scheduling, I usually schedule 1 week in advance, and I know exactly where that kit's got to go next. So I know CSSD are really busy. They're dealing with multiple companies, and I'll go, oh, you know what, John, can you go and pack that kit up for me, because I need to send it next flight to another hospital.
John being your rep.
Yeah.
Which you would need to be friends for John to not sell and go get that kit.
Yep.
Love it.
Working in bigger companies, you're consistently scheduling all the time. And you have your last minute bookings all the time. But it's building relationships is major.
It sounds like you're an expert juggler, really, because you have to move through various stages, various sort of environments, and work with multiple stakeholders in the sequence of from this device getting there so that the implant can get into the patient.
Yep. You can send kits like missing a few screws, but if something's missing out of a kit, you need to communicate that with the rep. Just so they know. There might be a back order with Germany. We haven't received the stock, so this kit would be classed as incomplete but still usable. If there's a kit missing a major component that's not usable, then it will be quarantined, and we have to wait till we get that instrument in. So.
Well, again, because it's the surgeons will rely on it all being there. So if it's not there, being really clear with what is missing, and then obviously making sure that that's not going to get in the way of completing the surgery. So I know you came from the health sector, but your colleagues that you work with in the warehouse, where are all the different backgrounds that they've come from? Where do you see people finding this career path?
Part of operations, an operations team exists of, you've got your logistics pick packer.
Yeah.
So they usually pick pack all of the customer orders, so consignment sites. If a hospital uses their consignment, then we actually pick the stock from our warehouse and it gets sent to the hospital to replan their sets. So that's pick packer. We've got customer service, so they process all the quotes, whatever's been used out of a kit for that type of surgery, and chase purchase orders after the case is done. And then you've got the loan kit coordinators sending out the kits to the hospitals. Type of backgrounds, I think nearly all of us that in our ops team here have been in medical devices and nowhere else. So there has been one who was HR in customer service, and then she decided to move into operations.
Well, that's an interesting detour. I think my question was more, not everyone has worked in a hospital. So what are the different places that you've seen? Maybe you come from outside medical or outside healthcare, and maybe sometimes you can start in picker and packer and then work your way up to loan kit. Or I've even seen people that have no healthcare background, but have all the traits that you've just talked about in terms of thinking under pressure, high attention to detail, very organized, that they've been able to make that transition into loan kits. So you've worked with so many people over the years. Like, where are all the, the varied places that they've come from? Because one of our missions at MedTech Mentor is to be able to help those that are aware of the medtech industry become skilled with, how do I get in? What do I need to do? Let's try to demystify what this is, because I was saying with me when I worked in the orthopedic clinic, I was like, wait a second, what are all these medical companies? Wait, there's all these commercial businesses behind all of this stuff. And of course now it just seems like common sense. But when I was 20, I didn't realize that.
Not many people know about loan kits, because they think that all this equipment is at the hospitals, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to, I didn't know anything about this. I thought it was all at the hospitals. But being a loan kit coordinator, you're right, there is different roles. Sometimes it is hard to get into based on experience.
Yeah.
A lot of medical companies want you to have SAP experience, or, have that basic background of medical and the way it works. But you could work in retail and go into loan kits if you can read a checklist and count the screws and read the product codes. It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
You don't need a university degree to do this job. It's very easy.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy that, you can move into other areas like clinical support or go into marketing. So there's a tree of opportunities in medical devices, but getting into it, yes, it can be hard. I recommend, I know on LinkedIn Learning, there's, SAP courses.
Oh, that's that's really good.
Which is a major one. We can see the basic transactions that we do use, and just getting, I guess communicating with, if you do work in hospital, get in contact with the reps.
Yeah.
Ask those questions. How do I get into it? Sometimes recruiters will reach out to people and say, would you be interested in going to MedTech? It's just about getting out there and asking questions.
Yeah, no, I really do agree with that. I think that being able to connect with other people and be curious and ask questions. I think the hardest part I've always found with loan kit coordinating, which is why I was so excited to do this episode with you, is just explaining and bringing into color really what we're working with.
Yeah.
Like this kit, for example, you know, I say attention to detail and I say organized and I say pressure, but being able to add more color to that picture to really explain what it is, I think will be really helpful to those that are interested. Because to your point, if you can start in loan kit coordinators, there is absolutely no glass ceiling within MedTech.
Yeah.
I have known executives now that are leading MedTech companies that started in the warehouse. And I love that, you know, whereas in healthcare, there is the ceiling. You know, there's only so high, there's only so many times you can climb up the ladder, so to speak, as a theater technician. There's only so many places that you can climb, you know, as a nurse, if you maybe, you know, if you don't want to necessarily be a NUM or a DAWN, you know, there's a limit. Whereas within MedTech, you could start out in loan kit and you could go into clinical, you could go into marketing, you can go into HR, you could go into ops. Like it's just building that foundation of that craft knowledge to start with. I really appreciate your recommendation as well around SAP courses on LinkedIn. I actually hadn't thought of that because that is often a barrier of someone who, you know, like one profile that I used to approach and again have to explain what loan kit coordinators were, would be someone who is a parts picker in a auto shop. Like that's a kind of like the closest thing that I could get to outside of a theater tech. And so having them understand how to use SAP, depending on where they've come from, that's a really good tip.
Yeah, it's just the basics.
Yeah.
And you'll learn a lot of it. So when you do apply for a loan kit coordinator without experience, it's always best to show that you're interested, right? So learn about the company that you want to get into.
Yeah.
You know, where do they manufacture? What type of products do they do? And that's a big tip because I know that we've just interviewed for another loan kit coordinator here.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh. Did they get the job or is it still open?
They got the job and he is not from MedTech industry background.
Oh, really?
So we had a choice of someone with experience and someone without. And I attended that interview and I asked, the main question was, what's KLS Martin? Like, what do we do to see if he's done his research on what we actually do? Yes, he hasn't got experience, but I can train him how I want to train him. So that was my main area that I wanted to do. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll take him through to CSSD, the hospitals, and just so he can see the ins and outs of how it works both sides. A major one that I did while I was at Johnson & Johnson, which we did have some CSSD technicians come across to Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
We actually did a massive tour for the CSSD managers and CSSD techs of exactly what happens when a kit comes back and the way it's checked in services for CSSD. And I organised that event because we were having problems getting our kits back, right? So I wanted them to see this is how fast our kits turn and this is why we need it back. Not a week later, 2 days max. This is why we asked for it back. And they didn't realise like the turnaround rate of our kits going in and out the door, in and out the door. And we got some good CSSD people into loan kits just by doing that. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's really good. So I'm curious though, what the person that you hired, you said they didn't come from healthcare. So what was their experience?
So medical logistics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So still kind of in the arena, but
So he's got that. Another thing, we do our callbacks to the hospitals.
Yeah.
So he had that internal relationship with the hospitals already.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So that's important as well.
But interesting, like had he not done the preparation, had he not demonstrated curiosity, then it very easily could have been the other candidate.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And he actually said to me, Charisse, you know, I love what you guys do. Like, people just don't understand what you do.
Yeah.
Which is why we're doing this today, right? To expose this is a really important job.
Yeah.
Getting this stuff out to the hospitals to better impact for our patients. So,
100%.
and I've always said, what if that patient is your family member?
Yeah.
You would want the best outcome for them. So, yeah.
I mean, I know you, just like me, and so many others in this industry. What really holds our attention and holds our engagement and keeps us going through all of the hard stuff, all the pressure, late nights, early mornings, is the fact that it's meaningful.
Yeah,
is the fact that you can serve and contribute to something that you have a connection to. And I think that really helps make you resilient through some really difficult challenges.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. You're always going to be faced with a challenge, but you just have to learn new things. Like when I was doing agency work as a theatre tech in Melbourne, and I was working at Royal North Shore Hospital in theatres, I didn't want to lose that product experience. So I was flying back and forth, doing agency work, going back to the hospital, doing night shift.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. So,
Good on you.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I think to embrace a value of lifelong learning is you can't go wrong. And you certainly have done that. And you can see that you've gone from strength to strength, and your career and your experiences in this very important niche has really been rich. And I'm sure it's going to set you up to do whatever you want to do next.
Yeah.
If I am outside of healthcare, I'm not in that arena, but I'm hearing this and I'm thinking that's really exciting to me. What can I expect of what I will need to do and invest outside of just being naturally curious and investing a lot of time and energy?
So an outside view in terms of salary, right? You're probably looking at, for bigger companies, about 65,000
As a starting point,
That's
yep.
a starting point.
Yep.
As you build your career, then you're looking around about 80 to 85,
Yep.
depending on experience. If you want to go into a high position like the team leader role, then it will be a tiny bit higher.
Yeah. It's not really, though, about the salary per se getting in. It's more about the opportunities that it represents afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the fact that you could transition from, being outside of medical or health at all, and then moving into, after spending time in loan kits, into clinical, moving into, as we said, marketing, sales, eventually running a company, if that's what you're interested in. So the salary is kind of something that we want to share with you, but really the point we want to be making is that this is also your investment to open and unlock all of those other opportunities that have absolutely no ceiling. Yeah.
And it's not just about salary. There's a lot of medical companies, if you reach your KPI as a company, there's bonuses.
Oh yeah,
as
we
well.
love a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, there's bonuses that we do get as well yearly,
Mm-hmm.
and there's overtime as well.
Yeah.
So the more overtime you do, the more money you get. Could be, double time.
Because you referenced on call.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do on call as well.
How much on call are we talking? Like on average, what would be, you've been at enough companies now to kind of go, what do you expect?
Yep. So some companies that I've worked for, you get $80 as soon as you get that phone call. You get paid from the time from your house to your workplace to pack up that kit and send it. If you get another phone call, then that's another $80.
Yeah.
Everywhere's different.
Mm-hmm.
On call for here, we just get a weekly rate of that amount of money. So depending how many times we get called in, then we just get that paid on a weekly basis.
When we're talking about the training and the onboarding, so going back to that question, you got the job now. What do we expect in terms of training? I mean, I expect, given the stakes, you don't just chuck someone in the deep end.
No.
No. That just made her twitch. She was like, I just have a tick from that.
So what usually happens, so your first week, people are usually scared. It's like, this is so much to learn. There's so many products.
Yeah.
You won't be thrown in the deep end. There'll always be someone with you to shadow and see what we actually do. And you get to learn that process. For someone who doesn't have experience, then I know with the new guy that's starting with us soon, I'm going to take him to CSSD and see the ins and outs of what happens when we do send a loan kit, what happens when we call it back, and the way we check it. But you won't, with the amount of products, you won't learn it, 6-8 months later.
That's really
important. And you
important.
still learn.
Yeah.
You keep on learning about, because we get different new products as well.
New products, and you guys do a lot of custom work here as well. So I think that's a really important thing to make sure everybody knows, is that there is a really long learning cycle to this. And I think in general, in medical devices and technology, having a love of learning, expecting to be a lifelong learner is one of those inherent traits, just like curiosity, just like perseverance, that is necessary, because the work is such high stakes and it is meaningful. It requires that extra special bit of effort and energy.
100%.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think it's important as well, because a lot of times, given that loan kit coordinating is an entry-level position, 6 to 8 months worth of training is thousands of dollars of man hour and resources and time. And of course, there could potentially be errors which have impacts along the way of learning, And so making sure that if you do say that this is the job that you want to be taking, that you really understand the commitment and what's required. Because I think for me, recruitment's always about matchmaking. There's a right place for everybody. We all have our natural talents and strengths, and it's just about finding that right fit for you. But if what we've discussed today sounds like it could be a good fit for you, then definitely check out Loan Kit Coordinating. It could just be, the next career that unlocks your journey, just like Charisse. Would you have ever thought that this would have been, the last 13, 15 years?
Yeah. I never thought that I would be in this industry for a long time, and it's just that passion to help someone. And that's what I love. And just seeing it in theatres, like with traumas and the impact it does have. And as I said, I love seeing photos of a product that I've sent into a hospital for a patient. It's good. I love it. And I wouldn't move to any other industry. I love it.
Now, one of the things that we like to talk about, given the fact that we are all about mentoring and we're all about sharing knowledge as well, is who've been some of your most memorable mentors? Or actually, I'll take a step back from that and ask, do you have mentors in your life?
I do.
You do?
I do. And that's my reps.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So when I first started to know the products, it's like, what does this do? What's this used for in which procedure? Because I didn't know the products when I first started. And they explained every single thing, to me. This is, this. They show me pictures. Sometimes they take a photo. And that's what I love, is seeing a photo from theatre going, hey, I actually sent that for this patient. The outcome of that. But my mentors would be a lot of the reps.
And how did that relationship get started? Because I hear often a lot that how do I find a mentor? How do I get one? And I actually just spoke at another MedTech company last week around this topic. And I was reflecting on the first time that I identified that I wanted a mentor and then really awkwardly asked someone. And it was just, I put so much pressure on it and it was awkward, and it didn't, like I asked and they were like, yeah. And then it really just kind of, it was just weird. And as I've grown and experienced mentorship in all different places, now I just see like it's a classroom everywhere. But how did you go from that to then having these reps as your mentors? How did you make that happen? Yeah.
I just asked one of the RSMs, so regional sales managers, who loves to teach. And she just said, okay, I'll teach you whatever you want to know. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have her as my mentor, and I'm going to grab all the knowledge out of her as I can and learn the products
So you observed that willingness to share knowledge, you observed that openness from her, and that was really important as well, because then you could be comfortable being vulnerable with her and, you know, having the humility to go, I don't know what this is. Can you teach me this? Can you teach me that? That's really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. There are times where, you know, especially with reps, they're put under pressure with the surgeons as well, which you might get a nasty phone call from a rep saying, oh, you know, but you're sort of outside of that, you apologise and, you know, you build that connection and, you know, we go out for drinks on a Friday and that's the way it should be. Go out for dinner, you know, build that relationship that you do have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a village. Like none of this happens by one person. And so being able to be connected as a team, as a community, and support one another and share knowledge is really important. And I think you've done that really well with the people
I'm
that you've
still in
spoken with.
contact with people at Johnson Johnson and Biomet and Zimmer, and we all get together and go, I didn't realise he moved to this medical company. So you hear all these stories.
It's a small world, the shuffle.
He's in clinical support now. I'm like, really? How did he get into that? And you have those conversations. And, you know, we're doing this product range now. And it's like, oh, really? What's that? And then you get all this knowledge from what everyone's doing. And no, it's great. And that's the way it should be, like hold on to those, you know, previous connections that you do have, because you never know, you know, where that can lead you. So
no, your network is incredibly important, and it's I think of it as it's almost like the equity, the time that you've spent with everybody, you know, and in the trenches, that to continue to nurture those relationships, and I think that's really what it all is about, you know. Is doing hard work, doing work that you're passionate about, and having meaningful relationships as you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have any advice that any of your mentors that have given you along the way that you hold close, that, you know, you might share with yourself, share with others often?
Advice would be, what they would usually say to me is just make sure if you don't know something, well then ask.
Okay.
Rather than just send it out thinking that it's right.
Yes.
Especially when you're new to the industry and a loan kit coordinator role and you're not quite sure about something, if you don't know, ask. That's really, really important, because you could be sending out the wrong item.
Yes.
And I've always said, you know, the reps do ask for extra stuff outside of the loan kit, so it could be a single item. I've always said, take a photo of it and say to them, is this a correct product that I'm sending out?
Yeah.
Instead of on the phone, just so you've got that visibility of what you're actually sending out is correct.
It goes down to that detail. Be specific.
Yep.
That's a great tip, actually. If someone asks you for something, if you're in loan kits, to take a photo and send it. That's a good one. I really like
because
that.
they don't know product codes, they know the descriptions, right?
Yeah.
And with operations, we know the product codes.
Yeah.
And then once you build that experience, you go, oh yeah, 2 mil max drive screw, not locking. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, and I've said to the reps, if I'm on leave and someone's taking over my role, to give product codes. Yeah,
because how many SKUs are you working with? I'm trying to remember of in one of the roles that I was representing. I have this number of like 7,000 SKUs or something. I don't know if that's right. How many would you be working with right now in KLS?
screws.
Like SKUs, product code.
Oh, millions.
Maybe
probably
7,000 wasn't quite right.
Yeah,
Millions, everybody. Millions.
Yeah, because
Take a photo.
everything has a product code. Like even these trays have a product code.
Yeah.
Because if we need to purchase another tray, then we know exactly.
Yeah.
You know, on SAP, do a PO. This is the product code, and this is how many we need. So every single item here has a product code.
Yeah. Well, I think it's safe to say that recognition for loan kit coordinators is overdue. and really essential for the future, because it is often, I think, if we were to look at out of 100% of the roles that a MedTech company hires, there's a lot of activity hiring in loan kit coordinators. It tends to be one of the more voluminous job profiles that you'll be hiring. You might only hire 1 or 2 ops managers or leaders, right? Again, this probably second to that would be sales reps, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a tremendous opportunity for someone that might be watching this and listening to this and go, that actually sounds like something I could get behind, something I could do, something I'm interested in, and something that I would find meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever mentored anyone before? Do you have any mentees?
I have.
Oh,
I have. And
really?
they're actually really, really experienced loan kit coordinators.
Yeah.
And they're in loan kit team leader roles now. And they've seen in the past that I've done like little projects with other companies to say, hey, this is what operations actually does.
Yeah.
And they've actually gone, your experience, working in the hospital theatre environment as well as loan kits and medical devices, you should actually showcase that. Do you have any tips for me about doing this a certain way? What do you think the hospital would think about, if we did this, would CSSD like that, not like that? So, I get asked a lot of questions. They're like, oh, you should do a podcast.
Here we are. It really does feel full circle.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to share this with you and share this with everybody. And as is our tradition on the MedTech Mentor podcast, that all of our guests offer an additional 1 hour to mentor one of our listeners. So the trick here is, everybody, is that you need to like and share this episode with hashtag MedTech Mentor Podcast, and then you will go in the running to spend an hour with the amazing Charisse Pulfer.
Yay!
Yay! Well, look, if you're ready to see the medtech industry from a new angle, please tune in for this episode and celebrate the unsung heroes of the medtech industry, our loan kit coordinators. Thank you so much for this time, Charisse. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to have you.